Barakata Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Today's lesson is going to be, why do the Khazars worship the Sabbath on Saturday? And did a series on or actually a show on the new moons and when to keep the Sabbath, and the Spirit had revealed more information to us about pertaining to the fact that we're keeping the Sabbath and the new moons, on the right days, which you knew through the Spirit already, but the Lord gave us more information on it. So what I decided to do, since that was already taken care of, I had thought about putting a little lesson together on why these devils, these Khazar rats, that call themselves Jews today, why they worship the Sabbath on Saturday. And I came across some information, so I want to share it with you brothers as to why these devils worship the Sabbath on Saturday. So I'm going to read a couple of articles, and then we're going to hit some scriptures, and I'll try to make this lesson pretty short just to make the point. Alright, this is from this website here, as you can see it. Alright, it says Jews and the planet Saturn. I have noticed that the behavior and practices of Hasidic Jews have a correlation with the planet Saturn. That's these devils out here that call themselves this name, because they took on this Hasidic Jews. They took this on from going back to the time of the Hasmoneans, which were the Maccabees. That's and they, you had a sect called the Assyrians, I believe it was. So that's where they took this on, because they're trying to say that they're the descendants of these people, but they're not. But it says that I've noticed that the behavior and practices of Hasidic Jews have a correlation with the planet Saturn. They worship on the Sabbath, Saturday, they worship on the Sabbath, or they worship the Sabbath, which really what should have been there, but it says they worship on the Sabbath, Saturday, which is ruled by Saturn, to tap into the powers of Saturn. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing the same thing that the other Edomites are doing. They're trying to tap into the power of the heavens. That's the reason why when the serpent, which is a man, came to Eve, he was trying to get Eve to worship this power which was located in the heavenly host. That's the same thing these devils are trying to do, and that's the same thing all the nations have been trying to do from the beginning of the world. So it says they worship on the Sabbath of Saturday, which is ruled by Saturn, to tap into the powers of Saturn. Especially the men, wear black all of the time, which is Saturn's color, again to tap into the powers of Saturn. That's the same reason why you got these judges in the courts that are wearing the black robes, because they're trying to channel their energy from the heavens, through Saturn, which is supposed to be like the chief god. The same way that they do when they worship the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the other planets out there, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to get that ancient power that those nations got from the heavens.
And so then you have the priest who comes out, the clergy who comes out with the long robe, and incidentally the reason why clergy always wear long robes is because it's a female garment, and it represents the feminine connection with God, and that's why clergy wear a long robe. It also has to do with when the clergy wears the long robe, the judge, when the judge comes out, he wears the same long black robe. It's the same black robe that you wear when you graduate from university or high school. The black robe is a very important symbol. It has to do with a very ancient cult called the Saturnalian cult, going back into the ancient Semitic world, the worship of Saturn. Black was a color attributed to Saturn, and even today in Islam, in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia, you have this square of Mecca within the magic circle, within the Masonic circle, and Mecca is black, and it's draped in a black robe. And so this is a world fraternity of secret societies that use the same symbols. But let me get back to the government, the courtroom, and the church. When you're sitting in a church, you of course are looking up onto the altar, and the priest is looking down on you. There is always a fence in the church, and then there's a gate, and only the priest can go through the gate to enter the altar. The same thing is true in a court. There is the fence and there's the gate, and only the attorneys can go through, and they're called the logos, and they go through and talk to the judge for you. And of course, the judge is sitting 3 tiers high, so he can look down on you, and you look up to him. The same symbols which are used in religion are used in political circles. And I am saying, it's my opinion, that what we have in America is a religio-political economic scheme based on a very ancient secret societies and fraternal orders. And until such time as we understand that concept, that things just don't happen. I mean, what was it? Franklin Roosevelt even said, anything that happens in politics, it was planned that way. And until such time as you understand that things are planned in politics and that there is a rhyme and a reason to things, you know, we're never going to get to the bottom of this.
You know, which is foolish, because of the fact that the Lord already told us that these things, you know, we're not supposed to worship these things, because when you worship the sun, moon, and the stars, the Most High gets mad. But you know what? That's dealing with the other nations. That's dealing with Israel. Now, the other nations, they could do whatever the hell they want to do, you know, because this truth wasn't given to them. The laws was only given to the nation of Israel. But the Lord, you know, was using that as, you know, as an example to us, because the Lord already showed us that these nations were worshiping these different gods and deities and these different heavenly hosts. So the Lord said, don't do what these nations are doing, because if you do what they're doing, the same thing that they did that got them kicked out of the land that I'm giving you, if you do it, I'm gonna kick you out of that land. And you know what? Before I read on real quick, let me just go to the book of Leviticus, the 20th chapter, you know, just to show you that point. Leviticus 20 and alright, right here, Leviticus 20 and 22. You shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. And you shall not walk in the manner of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. What were they committing? They were worshiping the sun, the moon, the stars. They were burning their children to Molech. You know, they were committing all types of abominations. They were into lesbianism, homosexuality, bestiality, and all a host of worshiping idols, all type of madness that they were doing. So it says, and you shall not walk in the manner of the nations which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. But I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your power, which have separated you from other people. You shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean, and you shall not make yourselves abominable by beast or by fowl or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people, that you should be mine. Alright, so it says, a man also or a woman that hath a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone him with stones, that their blood shall be upon them. Why? Because that's witchcraft. The Lord said, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So now we pretty much dealt with this article here, because this is all I really want to read. They're going to other stuff, you know, but you know, we just get the main points. You know, I don't really, you know, some of the stuff that they going into is some witchcraft shit. So I don't, we don't deal with that. I just wanted to bring out this point about that these so-called Jews worship on Saturday because they're trying to tap into the power of Saturn. And that's why their men mainly wear all black all the time. You know, you see them walking around wearing black hats, black jacket, black, you know, whatever, because they're trying to channel that power from Saturn. Now this is another website here, and I'm just gonna get a quick point out of here. I really didn't read through this whole thing, and I'm sure it has bones in it, because you know, whenever they put this information, it does have bones in it. But I'm just gonna read the point that best conveys the message. This is a Saturn and the sacred Hebdomad. Alright, now the Hebdomad, I looked this up, and basically what it means is a 7-day worship, or the worship of the 7 days, you know, which is going into worshiping the sun. I mean, the sun, the moon, and the certain planets. All right. It says here, it says, in the Babylonian mysteries, Nimrod was given the name of Saturn. So basically, what these so-called Jews are doing when they worship the Sabbath on Saturday is that they're channeling the energy from Saturn, which really goes back to Nimrod, all the way back to the Babylonians, you know, back when after the flood, when they were set up. So that's what it says here. It says, in the Babylonian mysteries, Nimrod was given the name of Saturn, the hidden god. Nation after nation gives glory and tribute to the hebdomadal gods of Babel, which the hebdomadal gods of Babel was, I believe they're going to go into it in this article, but it deals with, right here, it goes right here, it says the sun, the moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. These are the 7 here that they worship. So it says Sabbath days are declared and set aside in their honor. Friday, the day of honoring Venus, Saturday, the day of honoring Saturn, and Sunday, the day honoring the sun god. Nimrod and his Babylon mystery worship is alive and well in the world today. Why? Because these so-called Jews have still pushed that. And then through these so-called Jews also, you had, you know, like the Seventh-day Adventists, they had their own form of worship on Saturday because they're doing the same exact thing. Alright? Now, before we read on, I want to go to this scripture real quick in the book of Jeremiah, just to show you that we're not supposed to do these things, you know. This is the book of Jeremiah 10, verse 1 and 2. And it says this, it says, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Excuse me. So the Lord said not to learn the way of the heathen. That's what they do. We're not supposed to do that. Why? Because the Lord made us a holy people unto himself. That's why he separated us from all these other nations, because he didn't want us to follow after their customs. If the Most High wanted these nations to follow after his law, statutes, and commandments, he would have gave them the law, statutes, and commandments. The Most High is not dealing with these nations. Alright? So it says, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So when you see these different things that happen in the heavens, whether it's solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, or so-called shooting stars, or asteroids, or meteorites, or whatever the case may be up in the heavens, comets and all that, we're not supposed to be dismayed at that, because these things are supposed to happen, and these things are a sign that we're about to get up out of here. It says, for the heat